Welcome to Show Boys. My name is Mike. We're here with another episode for you this lovely Thursday evening. I'm joined by my good friends and fellow hosts, Pixel Nick and Chadwick III. Chad, how are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm great. How are you, Mike?
Doing good.
Good.
We're both, adjusting from the children youth sports
Yes.
right before podcast mad rush to the computer.
Yep.
How are you, Nick?
I'm good. I just got here.
I just got here.
What are we doing? What are we doing here? Why are we here?
Good question. We're here to talk about stuff and things.
Star Wars.
Yes. No, but Chad did come up with a great idea for a future episode last night. So sometime in the near future, I bet we will be talking about Star Wars.
Chad-dia.
Chad-dia. That's so funny because that's my aunt's nickname for me was Chad-dia when I was growing up.
Why?
And you just randomly pulled it out of the word bank.
Was it idea and Chad together? Or
no, I don't know. It was just like one of those nicknames you get when you're a kid.
Interesting. Chad-dia.
Chad-dia, yeah.
Chad-dia.
Shadia.
Shania.
Shania.
Chadwick a lot, obviously.
You're now Shania.
Shania. Damn. Took a dark turn, didn't we?
Yeah. But yeah, we're going to talk about some gaming stuff. But before we get into anything, I just want to say thank you to our top tier patrons, Tim B, Yusuf H, and Joe C. Thank you guys so much. Your support is amazing. And our other patrons, your support is also amazing. And if you're like, what the heck is Patreon? Or how do we sign up and support you guys? You can go to patreon.com/showboyspodcast and check it out. We have 4 different tiers, 4 different price points of monthly support from $1 all the way up to $10. They all come with different perks and benefits. So go check it out, patreon.com/showboyspodcast. We got some, monthly Patreon exclusive episodes that go up there and all kinds of fun stuff. So go check it out. Sign up today. And thank you in advance. So yeah, we're going to get into the state of gaming subscription services. So things like Game Pass and PlayStation Plus and Nintendo Switch Online. And then there's actually 17 other ones that I didn't even realize were a thing, but are a thing now. We're going to get into that. But first, I think we're going to just touch base with, what we've been watching or playing lately. Cause we do watch and play things. So yeah. Chad.
Yes, Mike.
What have you been watching or playing, bro?
What have I been watching or playing? As as my idea last night probably gave a hint towards, I've been watching and playing a lot of Star Wars stuff. No, nothing new there, right? Actually, it is relatively new. I think since Jordan commented that we talked about Star Wars so much, I haven't watched a single piece of Star Wars content since that comment. So I have a lot to catch up on. Yeah, I have a lot to catch up on. But
curmudgeon.
I started watching The Mandalorian. I think I'm on episode 5 or 6.
Nice.
So and the better part of the season.
Yeah, There's a lot that I don't like in it, and there's a lot that I do like. So I don't know. We'll see how the rest of the season pans out. Trying to get to Andor, and it's gonna happen. It just has to happen at this point.
Speaking of Star Wars, here's Tim, and Monday.
What's up, Tim?
We're gonna be on Tim's show talking about Star Wars.
Dude, that's so true. I hope you're ready, Tim, and everyone else over there at Funny Sci-Fi. You guys should go listen to Funny Sci-Fi. They're pretty great podcast. They live stream every Monday 7 p.m. I believe. Yeah, you can find them on all the regular podcasting platforms. Good people over there for sure.
Continue, Chad.
So anyway, I haven't got to Andor yet. I did start watching the second season of Star Wars Visions, which is really, really good. This season is more global animation studios versus just Japanese anime studios.
Good to know.
There's a couple good anime episodes in there as well, but it's really good. Again, it's up there for my anime. The problem with Star Wars is it has very strong animated series, so it's not, it's fighting against Clone Wars and Rebels, which is an issue.
Yeah. Bad Batch.
Bad Batch. Yeah,
You watch Bad Batch yet?
I have watched the first season of Bad Batch. I have not watched the second season of Bad Batch.
It's really good.
Yeah, I need to get on that. I did watch some Tales of the Jedi as well, which are
Very
cool.
good.
Like, yeah, are they? It's just like an anthology series, right? Like none of those, at least for the ones I watched, had nothing to do with one another. But
Yeah, it's basically not fast. Filoni just like telling short stories that are hyper in canon. So unlike Visions where it's just not in canon, this is just like 10, 15-minute filler moments that he kind of tells to put context or weight behind characters he really hasn't had time to flesh out.
yeah, I
Dooku
dig.
gets a lot of love in that
Yes,
season.
yes, he does. Young Dooku too, right?
Young Dooku.
Which is cool.
Episode 1
Ahsoka's
Dooku.
yeah, Ahsoka's episode. I think it's maybe the final episode of Tales of the Jedi is really, really good. And I'll take any Inquisitor stuff I can get because I love those guys. And then I've been playing Jedi Survivor, and I'll be honest with you guys, it's the best Star Wars game I've ever played by a mile, probably. and that's even with the performance issues. And we talk all the time. You know, I'm a stickler for performance, and it does have performance issues. But even with that, this game is freaking phenomenal. It takes everything Fallen Order did and amplifies it by about 30. And then
That's crazy.
Stretches it out over, I don't even know how many hours I'm into it, like a significant amount more than Fallen Order even was, and I haven't finished it yet.
Yeah.
It's massive.
And Cal can have a mullet, which
And Cal can have,
like,
yeah. There's a lot, man. I'm gonna try to get the platinum. The problem is, you know, Tears of the Kingdom comes out tomorrow, so I did promise my younger son that he would play Tears of the Kingdom first in the house, so he's gonna have it occupied for a while, so I should have time to work on it. But
there you go,
dude,
Good strategy.
they're getting out of school for the summer tomorrow, and the game they've been waiting for 5-6 years is coming out tomorrow. It's like
the stars have aligned.
It's crazy, yeah. So this is I actually went to GameStop and pre-ordered it. I was like, we're gonna make like an event out of this. We're gonna go get a physical copy. I haven't bought a physical copy in a while, so.
Tim says Tales of the Jedi were designed to fill knowledge gaps. So right up there with what Nick was saying.
So
yeah, I need to get into that. I need to watch some Tales of the Jedi.
Oh, it's good stuff. It's awesome. So you said 30 times better. Is that more or less than the jump from Zero Dawn to Forbidden West?
It is probably in line with that jump.
Okay.
Dude, it's massive. I don't even know how to explain it. They take more of an open approach to it. So there's a single planet that is massive. I mean, I'm probably like, if I had to guess, I'm probably like 20 or 30 hours into it. And this planet is huge, like way big. It's probably like 4 or 5 of the planets from Fallen Order put together.
Less platformy? Like
there's a lot of platforming. The Metroidvania style stuff is still in there, pretty heavy. But the cool thing is you start with all your powers from Fallen Order, which I thought is awesome. I can't stand when games come and take your powers away that you got in the previous game. So you still have all that stuff. There's a bunch of different stances that they added in, lightsaber stances. So there's a huge variety in combat. Combat feels very, very close to Sekiro. Even some of the animations are straight out of Sekiro, like the kill shots and stuff, which obviously makes me happy. No.
No,
not same studio. They're just ripping it off. Yeah. Combat feels significantly better than it did in Fallen Order. They worked the jankiness out of it. And that might have something to do with the stances feel very different too. So it just feels different. But like the deflecting is very spot on in most parts. There is some issue with the performance on some of that stuff that, you know, your performance drops on that big planet that I was talking about pretty substantially. It seems to be the only place where you notice performance drops is on that specific planet. I think because it's just so big and there's so much going on. But yeah, I mean, there's like a huge settlement to fill out, and it's really cool, man.
Okay. So those are both like 30 times better than the first. So is that the same like multiplication factor that you want out of Tsushima 2?
Oh yeah, definitely for sure. Yeah, this one adds in a lot of the kind of role playing stuff that I felt was, or the immersive stuff that I felt like was missing from Tsushima. I
Mhm.
always stumble over that word when I'm traveling through, even though I probably said it 100 times. Yeah, I would love to see him do it to this scale. And I think when we first started talking about Survivor, I think I mentioned that somebody had said that it was like the jump from Arkham Asylum to Arkham City.
Mhm.
That's probably the best comparison that I can think of, that jump there, because it's not an Arkham Knight huge open world, right? But it's
Mhm.
a pretty open area, and the story's phenomenal.
Awesome.
Maybe I'll play some Fallen Order before I get that next year.
Yeah, you
Next
should,
year.
because it'll probably at least amplify your enjoyment out of it when you see how janky. Because really, Fallen Order is super janky, dude. Like even going back and playing it now,
Mhm.
like it's a great game. It's up there as far as Star Wars games go, but it's
It's just
very
clunky.
janky. It's very
Yeah.
clunky, and that for the most part is eliminated in Survivor.
That's good. That's good.
That's I can't wait for 5 years from now when I
I feel so
finally
bad for
buy
you
it.
guys, man. Like this is like
I'm at
the
least
Star
quicker
Wars.
than that. I'm quicker
Yeah.
than Mike when it comes to those things.
Yeah.
Because I'll probably end up playing Forbidden West this winter.
I'm
have it.
excited for you to play that, man, because that's a great. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna love it. You already own it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I own
okay.
that
mean,
and Last of Us Part 2. They just chill in
they're
my
just chilling,
my
waiting for
library.
Dang,
waiting for their time slot.
I went through a heavy Kakarot phase, as you know, and then
Yeah.
I am very consistently playing Red Dead
Yeah, you're
every night.
waist deep in Red Dead.
Yeah.
That game's awesome.
Yeah, so good, dude. There's actually a lot of, I don't want to say a lot of elements. There's a lot of stuff that reminds me of Red Dead in Survivor, primarily around the settlement, obviously. But
Mhm.
yeah, I need to get back to that game,
Red Dead?
Red Dead, and really, honestly, after Fallen Order or Survivor would probably be the best chance, because it doesn't have a PS5 upgrade. And even though I'm running Survivor in performance mode, I don't think I'm getting anywhere close to 60 FPS. I'm probably in the 30s, so it might be a easier transition from 30 FPS to 30 FPS. But
Yeah.
yeah, I need
No,
to play
Red
it
Dead's
again.
great.
Yeah.
I'm even with buying War Tales and playing War Tales. I've actually, now that we've started our co-op campaign with Mike and Dad, that's kind of like only time I'm going to play War Tales is with co-op, and then otherwise I'm playing Red Dead, because I was worried there for a couple days where I was like, oh man, War Tales really has me. But then like I was like, okay, cool, we got a co-op game going, so
Yeah.
I'm just going to go back to Red Dead, and I picked right because I stopped on Red Dead right in the middle of the island portion chapter. We are not in the United States anymore.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So that's but I picked it right back up there, and the story's just so good, and the gameplay is just so fun. And then, even though I'm like, I got to like where we're in the hills now, where like the crazy kind of like Deliverance type people are, and
Yeah.
the map like opened up so much in terms of like how much there is to do, because the last couple chapters there hasn't been a lot to do. It's all been very story driven, very punctual, and this is the first time in like 3 or 4 or like 2 or 3 chapters where it's like, okay, here's a bunch of stuff now, go do. So then I was like, I've been kind of starting to do like the challenges, and just doing more kind of like worldy stuff. Like I randomly saved this dude from some bounty hunters, and he was like, hey, bank in Valentine, go rob that crap, or the doctor office in Valentine. And so
Yeah.
like just doing little stuff like that in the world, I've been getting into. So really not accomplishing much of the story the past couple playthroughs, but that's okay.
I mean,
I've gotten to a good point. I'm
yeah.
like 70% through the game though.
Did you remind me? You did not play the first one, right?
I'm
That's
gonna
a
probably
bummer.
watch like a giant like recap.
I
on-
would watch it before you beat the game.
Really?
Yes, 100%.
It won't like, I guess now that I'm mostly through it.
Yeah, it's not going to spoil anything. As long as you find one that's just a Red Dead 1, it's not going to spoil anything, because it takes place
Okay.
after.
Yeah,
It
because
takes
I am
place
I am
after.
itching to like, because I'm having some of that FOMO where it's like I'm watching Rebels but haven't seen like the rest of Star Wars. moment
You're
there.
gonna Yeah, that's why I'm warning you that you should definitely do it before you beat the game because you're
I
going to get
haven't
a
had
lot
that.
heavy dose of that at the end.
Yeah, okay. I figured they were saving that up to the end because like it hasn't happened yet. Anything I was like overt like, oh, I wish I probably should know.
Yeah.
But I can tell it's building toward a lot where it's like, especially with all the characters, I'm like, there's probably gonna be a lot of tie in here that's gonna explain a lot about the
Yeah.
first one and
Yeah,
stuff.
you definitely want to at least have some knowledge going into the end game of
Okay,
the
good.
first game.
That's
But you
helpful.
you should definitely check it out. I don't even know where you could play it now, probably PC. You should definitely check it out because the first one's really good. It also has a really awesome zombie DLC, Undead Nightmare, I think it was called. So cool. So one of the coolest zombie things to come out, and especially around that time. Even though there's a lot of zombie stuff, it's just cool to be a cowboy fighting zombies.
That's pretty interesting. You don't see many cowboy zombie
No,
content.
and they have a lot of like White Walker style horses where they're like dead that you can ride. You know, like dead looking, like the Night King and them used to ride. So it's so cool.
That is pretty rad. Hey, there you go. New show or movie idea, guys. Cowboy zombie.
Yeah,
Let's go. Make it happen.
we had Cowboy versus Aliens. Remember,
We did.
You guys ever
yes.
watch that?
No, but
It's
I
actually
do remember
not.
that.
It's not a terrible movie. I'm not gonna lie.
Is it?
Dang.
Would you say fun?
It's a fun movie. Yeah, I would say it's a fun movie.
That was honestly, I forget why I watched Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter like this fall.
Yeah,
I did, and it was really fun. Like
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I mean, was it like mind blowing or anything? No, but it was pretty rad.
yeah, just falls in that rad category.
They just like retell history, but like weave in the fact that like the Confederates were aided by vampires.
I love it.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Dude, you can't play Red Dead 1.
That's what I was gonna say, dude. I don't know that. Yeah, I mean, it's locked.
You have to have a
It's-
PS3.
It's jarring that it hasn't been remastered in some capacity, or at least re-released on PS4 or PS5. I don't know if that's a plan, but that's not really outside of Grand Theft Auto 5. That's not really
Yeah.
Rockstar's way of doing it. Like Grand Theft Auto 4 is still waiting for
Yeah.
some sort of re-release, so it's not their cup of tea to really do that.
Yeah, it's just something happened 10 years ago where they're like, man, GTA 5 just keep re-releasing, remaking, and they hit the gold mine there. Why mess that formula? Ride that gravy train as long as possible. They could probably like nearly shut that studio down and just be like,
for sure.
hey, we got five developers. They just kind of tinker with stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and you can tell that that's their line of thinking too, because they've re-released Grand Theft Auto 5 again after Red Dead Redemption 2, and that game they just kind of left by the wayside, which is sad because it's all. I mean, it might be better than 5.
Dude, I saw a weird statistic while doing very minuscule research for tonight that Red Dead 2 costs like $540 some million to develop.
Yeah, there was a.
That's so crazy.
Yeah,
$500 million.
Yeah, dude, they're getting.
It's a nice game.
And the next gen games are getting more and more expensive. There was an article I just read. Or I didn't read it, but I saw that the price to make like these new games that are coming out is like completely out of control. So that's why Rockstar is probably re-releasing 5 over and over so they can dump that money into 6. I mean, it only makes sense.
Yeah,
if people are going to keep buying it.
Yeah,
why not? Have you been playing anything else besides Red Dead and War Tales, Nick?
I played this game called Besiege last night for like 15 minutes while Dad watched. It's a cool little like physics simulator. Like basically there's just levels and you build a siege engine and you gotta
Nick
destroy
just
everything.
described every game ever made.
Yeah.
Basically there's levels.
No, levels are only exclusive to platformers.
True.
Red Dead doesn't have levels.
I did see he was showing me Besieged before we went live, before you guys jumped in the studio.
Yeah, he bought it like while I was playing it. He's like, oh, I'm gonna buy this.
What made you check that game out?
he was just browsing through like his I think Steam, and then he described a totally accurate battle simulator tabs.
Oh
I
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
I was like, that's in my wish list. I'm like, actually, I have a game that's like 5 years old that I that I haven't played in a long time. That's very like that, and that's Besiege. Very similar a
Nice.
concept.
It looks
Um,
very mobile gaming.
yeah, it has that
It's got
aesthetic.
that vibe to it. Yeah.
You could probably play it on mobile. Yeah, I don't know if it's released there, but same idea. Yeah, very. You just click to add components and you build up a siege engine. And you just try to win the level. Little challenges and stuff. What else have I been playing? Really just Red Dead, War Tales.
Dad agrees. He says it's very fun to play and watch.
Yeah.
Dad does like to watch. Just getting that out there.
So Dad likes to watch. Yes, I like how the yellow, when you pull their names up, it blends in with the PlayStation icon.
Oh yeah, it's very true. Very true. Biosiv also said Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies. That was an older era zombie movie. Yeah.
You
Have
been
you
playing
guys been
Pokemon
watch-
games?
Me? Yeah. Playing, still working, working my way through Pokemon Black. I think I can talk about it now because we've recorded 2 episodes, but doing a little side piece action Pokemon series with my good buddy Jared from Play Along Podcast. And we're doing a playthrough of Pokemon Black, and we've recorded 2 episodes. We got 3 more left to record. It's been very fun, so those will be coming out
I'm sorry.
soon.
It took me that long to realize that you called it a side piece
Yeah, side piece.
action or whatever you
Yeah,
said.
little
Side
Pokemon
piece.
side piece action.
So messed up.
No, I'll talk more about that because I think it's going to be a reoccurring thing. But Pokemon Black's been a blast. For this was, I believe, Generation 5. It did a lot of new things in the series, and then sadly, like all the cool stuff that they did, which is a trend for the main Pokemon games. One generation will come out and do like a really cool new thing, and then they'll never do it ever again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why did you stop? That was actually really cool. But I'm loving it. It's been really fun. I'm doing like a weird modified Nuzlocke where, so like a Nuzlocke is a challenge run where you can only catch one Pokemon in each location of the map. And when your Pokemon faint in battle, they're dead and you can't use them anymore. So it's a little, obviously it's hard because you have a limited amount of Pokemon. If all your Pokemon die, you have to start over. I didn't want to start over, so I'm catching as many Pokemon as I want, but when they faint in battle, they're dead. So I've got a list of casualties, and it still is quite sad when they die because I get attached to my little pokes.
Yeah.
Been playing some War Tales solo, but also, like Nick said, we have a little co-op campaign going with Dad and myself and Nick. That's been fun. That game is also a blast. I've played it substantially more since the last time I talked about it on the podcast, and it's just like, it's one of those games where it's super chill and like very sandboxy. There's like a very loose story going on, but essentially you're just a squad of mercenaries that goes around and does bounties in each town you go in.
Yeah.
So you're just kind of going around doing
Working.
bounties for the town and like trying to survive. And it's chill in that aspect where you can just like, I'll go in, I'll be like, all right, I really need to do this bounty. And then I look up and it's been like an hour and a half and I haven't even like gone to that section of the map because I'm like, oh, I need to go upgrade this thing in my camp. And that means I need to get like 7 more iron, or like I have no food. I got to go hunt in the woods for some wolves or boar or whatever. And then I'm like, well, I guess I'm not doing any bounties tonight because it's
Yeah,
been
dude,
like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Mike's bad at this game.
Dude,
Can
it's
you-
so fun though.
Can you play the single player?
Yeah.
Because that was really like my course of action through all of Breath of Wild, where I just got so freaking distracted through the whole thing that like it's hard to stay focused.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
so
single player it's cool, and like you recruit people to your troop, and like I think my solo play, I have like 14 people in my troop or whatever. But like um Darkest Dungeon and other roguelike games, like there's permadeath when your troops die, they're gone for good. So there's a little bit of connection you get with your troop, and then when they die, it's quite sad. I don't think we've had any deaths in our co-op, have we?
Not yet.
Not
I
yet.
almost died.
There was a close one.
You almost died.
But yeah, we're Dad's been editing. We've been recording our co-op plays, and he's editing them down into 20-30 minute episodes or whatever. So those will be yes, Nick's character names are brilliant. How many times have you killed me, Mike?
Left out the slaughter. You're brutal.
None. I haven't
Brutal
killed you yet. You're my beefy tank, bro, and I would be so sad if you
beefy
died.
tank.
You are a mega tank. Yeah, so we'll be releasing those, I don't know, soon, whatever, over on Showboys Gaming. It's been really fun.
It's Rickard and Nichard.
Yeah, Rickard and Nichard.
Love
while I say it's chill when it's time for combat, and even some of the survival mechanics, like making sure you have enough food in your pack to not let your troops starve and stuff. The battles do get pretty intense. The combat's really, really cool. Lots of interesting little mechanics and whatnot. I'm having a blast. And apparently Nick said that they're like planning on adding more regions and stuff down the road.
There's like 6 regions, and I saw somewhere that they're talking about like 20.
That's insane.
Yeah.
We've been playing this game for a while.
Yeah. The combat's cool. I mean, the combat's cool because, like, I don't know. I guess that, like, sometimes like the battles are easier, but like it's not hard to stumble into a battle where it's like you need to be on your game and like make good moves. There's not a lot of room to slip up. Like there is in the early game, but I just know as you progress, like that slowly like narrows to the point where I'm like, I think people are just gonna be dying. Very early.
Well, like you get to the point where you're like pretty far from town and you have no materials to repair your gear. So when you get into battle, none of your characters have shields, so it's just your health bar, and that can be gone in like 2 attacks or whatever. And like your troop can get injured in battle, so you have to use medicine to heal their injuries, and all their injuries are different, like debuffs. There's like a wide range of them. So like if you don't have medicine with you, and then you like you finish a battle, and then there's also a mob like really close that happens to catch up to you and engage a battle, you're like, oh crap, I don't know if I can actually like make it through this or not. So it does get intense when it gets intense, but super fun game to get lost in. That's really all I've been playing. Watching wise, the mid-season invitational started for Pro League, so I'm watching that. My boys Cloud9 lost today, which sucks. They're down the losers bracket now. Right. North America never does good in international tournaments. Yeah, it's, those dang Koreans and Chinese teams just wipes the floor with us. So I've been watching that, and then I started a show on Netflix called Beef, which has been pretty good. A24 series on Netflix with starring Steven Yeun and who's the female actress? I can't remember her name, but they're both great in the show. Awkwafina. And it's like, no, it's not Awkwafina. It's good. It's really funny, but it's also like got that A24 bleakness to it. I'm really enjoying it. Can't wait to finish it up. It's right in your sweet spot, Nick, of like 30-minute episodes, 33 to 30 minutes. Good. It's good. You guys been watching anything or just playing stuff?
I was gonna try and watch Beef, but actually started watching The Diplomat with the wife. About 4 episodes into that. Big takeaway there, it has the main Nazi guy from Man in High Castle, and he's just awesome. Whoever that actor is, it's good stuff. But
Keeping Dad busy back there.
in the in the show, he's basically him and his wife. They work for the government, and he's just like this top-notch like diplomat, very well known, just real fancy when it comes to being a diplomat, and everyone knows him. He has connections everywhere, and he has a flair for being drawing attention to himself, and also getting in, doing things not by the books. And then his wife is like super by the books, more of a I want to go to obscure places and do political things like in the world. So essentially she's pegged for like the next candidate for like a very high ranking official office, and he's in on it and she's not. And it's a pretty interesting show. And has some funny kind of like elements about how politics work, and they kind of make the president, like there's the prime minister of England and then the president, like they don't do anything, like they're just figureheads, and that's how they're set up in the show. And it's funny because like they got together in the one episode and they just sat around and like drank and talked, and while everyone else is like running around actually doing stuff. So
nice,
interesting show.
Civ says that we need to watch Citadel.
He's also playing Red Dead 2 right now.
Yeah, he's been talking about Citadel a lot. Yeah, I tried to watch a little bit of Beef. Couldn't get into it really. I mean, I'm really watching the Star Wars stuff. I said kind of at the beginning. But I did. It always occurs to me anytime I get into Star Wars that I never actually go back and rewatch the movies, just because there's so much crap to watch now. So I've actually been rewatching the movies as well, which has been a nice little change of pace.
Dude, I've been wanting to go back, like speaking of going back and watching movies, I've been wanting to go back and watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
That's creepy.
For like,
yeah.
Since Rings of Power, really, since we watched that. And I still haven't. But like,
yeah.
I mean, that's just a big time sink. But
dude, I tell you, bro, I have a buddy that I work with who's very into Lord of the Rings, and he knew that I did not like Lord of the Rings, so he made me watch the extended versions of each of the movies, dude, and they're like 4 hours long. No exaggeration. Yep. And that will probably be enough Lord of the Rings for my entire life.
That's
to
hilarious.
be honest, because it was long.
I know you don't like this, but we're gonna watch the mega uncut.
Right. I mean, he was just trying. He knew that I didn't like him originally, and then he knew I got into Game of Thrones, so he's like, "Let's try it again. Maybe you like this stuff now." I'm like, Nah, not really.
Mild interest overlap there, a little, slight, but very different crowds.
It is, but my problem with it originally was I just wasn't into any kind of high fantasy stuff like that, and then Game of Thrones kind of got me into the mid fantasy or whatever you call it, low fantasy. So I thought that maybe I'd get it, but yeah, it's not working. The ring wraiths, those things are cool, but that's about the only thing I like in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that like Lord of the Rings just gets to fall back on is like it's literally the template for all fantasy, period. Because dude wrote that stuff in like the 30s or 40s before any of that even exists in anyone's brain.
Yeah,
and then especially when you talk about like Warcraft and other things, like just straight riffs on it on purpose too. Like it's more of a homage thing, right?
Right.
Everything about them is just laid the foundation for all fantasy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I mean, that was another thing is I played like a substantial amount of World of Warcraft in between watching Lord of the Rings and hating it, and then I played some Warcraft. So I thought like the stars were aligned for me to finally enjoy those movies. And maybe it was the extended versions where it's just like there's another hour of walking. Like I don't know if I needed another hour of walking per se.
Yeah, if you're not particularly into it, I would not recommend because I mean the regular versions are already 3 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours long, 3 hours long, thoroughly, and then it adds an hour to each of them in the extended, and that's only good for like if you read the books and you love the movies, watch the extended ones. Like I won't watch anything but the extended ones, but I also love Lord of the Rings and read the books, etc.
Yeah, he tried to like talk me into like splitting him, like watching it like a series, and like splitting him into hour chunks. I'm like, dude, let's just crank
It's
these
a
things out. I don't
12
want to drag it out.
episode, 12-episode series right there.
It's
Yeah,
actually not a terrible idea if you can find a good like
yeah,
split point.
I think
Yeah, every
that's
time they're walking.
yeah. I think that's what he said. How he introduced it to his wife. They watched it like that and broken down into chunks. But yeah. So outside of that, I've been watching a lot of Star Wars Explained YouTube channel. I don't know if you guys ever
Yeah.
watch that stuff. Great channel.
Those are 3 of
Little
them.
little short for my taste. He does a lot of short videos. I wish he did a little longer form videos because I really like his voice compared to the other Star Wars YouTubers. But
There's Eckhart's Ladder, Star Wars Explained,
Star Wars Theory.
Star Wars Theory. There's another one, but those are like the main ones. Star
I
Wars
never heard of the
Explained is
first
good.
one.
Eckhart's
Yeah, I never heard of the
Ladder.
first-
It does
Yeah.
like Halo, Star Wars, and there's a third thing it covers a lot of, but he's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You might like him. He kind of has a little bit longer videos, and it's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely enjoy the longer videos because really the only time I watch YouTube is like in bed, and I don't want like a 2-minute video, and then it switches all the time. It just annoys me. So
Yeah, and like for me, like I just have like a steel trap of a memory. Like I have high retention when it comes to just passing by things. So I watch a 5-minute video on like, you know, how ATTEs work, right? And the mechanics of them, you know,
Yeah.
one of those channels, and like it's just in there forever.
yeah, that's lucky. I wish I was like that, man, because I'll forget that we had this conversation 10 minutes after we get off tonight, to be honest with you.
All right, Civ says, "What do the Showboys think about the writer's strike?" Well, sir, that is a loaded, packed question there. that
Loaded.
would probably warrant an entire episode on. In short, I don't care what they're asking for. Give them what they want because I want my shows to not go straight into the dumpster.
I would be better if they just paused everything, but of course, like studios for whatever reason, execs are just like go 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 go. We are poor apparently. So the fact that like Andor,
Especially
that-
with Disney doing that, it's laughable.
oh,
Like
it's
with the
so
Andor situation.
oh, I'm so worried about it because that article was put out on the 9th, the one I share in Discord. It was put out on the 9th, and there's an update on the 10th. So on the 9th, they were like, Gilroy, the showrunner, does multiple duties on the show, but obviously is supported by all like the actual writers, people who do most of the writing. Well, they're like, it was like, it might work because Gilroy can just pick up like writing duties and it'll be okay. And then the update was, no, he's out. He's staying with the writers. I'm like, oh dear. And they're still going forward with it without like the main showrunner, that like is the reason it is like Rogue One, right? It's that.
Yeah.
So that's really very concerning that Disney just wants to like pound sand there and just, we have to meet, like, just wait. Like, we're not in a hurry. They released all that stuff already this year, all the animated stuff. Like Chad's watching like 3 full series of catching up. And that's all stuff that just came out in the past like 3 months. And then on the 4th, they released like a bunch of little stuff like Visions, and there's a new like kids show. So, and Ahsoka's coming out. That's already done, luckily, and that's coming out. So it's like, just pump the brakes, yo.
Yeah.
Like, chill.
So like I know nothing about that part of the industry. I know nothing about the industry in general. I'm just a
Read
fan
that article.
that
It kind of
watches
explains
things, right? And enjoys them, and then likes to tell people why I enjoy them. So I think if we did have an episode on this, we'd probably need to scour the internet for some knowledgeable people on the industry side of things. But I would say that maybe of everyone involved, maybe the writers are the least taken care of, which is sad because if they
Most
don't
important.
write, you don't have stories for the actors to act out for us.
Well,
and it's just like compensate the people, like give them a good work environment, pay them what they're deserved. They're making this content for you. Without them, you have nothing. And last time this happened, I didn't really pay attention to much stuff at that time, but Civ was saying in Discord that like, I forget the shows that he referenced, but there were two like real big ones that just literally in the midst of the strike just tanked, just imploded on themselves because of this. So I'm nervous because there are a lot of great shows. We might be in the best era of shows. Maybe
In
I'm gonna throw it out there. I'm gonna say ever, with how streaming services work, the quality of these series that we're getting, it's crazy. And I don't. Oh, here so it says Heroes and Lost. Yeah, they got destroyed by the.
I knew Heroes was one of those shows that collapsed.
But there are just so many great shows that are still like in the prime of their run. I don't want to have a Heroes and Lost moment, right?
Yeah.
Where they just cave in on themselves because of the strike. So
yeah. I mean, this is I mean, it's affecting a lot of stuff that we talk about. I mean, Stranger Things, I think, got delayed. There was talk of House of the Dragon maybe being pushed back.
I think
Daredevil Born Again, maybe.
House of the Dragon, Rings of Power, and Andor were the three notable ones that are still moving forward.
They're still moving forward. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. And it was interesting when they were talking about Gilroy, is basically Gilroy, because there isn't, a writer and isn't necessarily in the Writers Guild, was not obligated to like stand down, right? But so could have been doing multiple jobs there, but would have incurred fines from the guild, but would have made Disney happy. Or you make Disney pissed and then you just make the guild happy. So it's just interesting how there's like weird like political dynamics with like your career too. Like,
right.
You don't want to piss off like your peers, or do you piss off
your employers?
You stick with your people.
Right. Well, no, ultimately
the corporate overlords are not going to look out for you, but your peers will,
But that's the crazy thing too. Like, it isn't like just a general, we just want more money. It's more of a general, hey, this all works completely different now with streaming. Like, we want to be updated to make sense with how you guys make money now. So, but as more and more groups do that, our streaming isn't going to be the cheaper than cable option. Like, it's already about at the cusp of being the same. You might as well just have cable.
Except the quality of stuff you get on cable is absolute dumpster fire compared to what you get for the same cost with multiple streaming services.
Very true. Very true. It's a changing world out there.
Yeah. I don't know.
People just want more monies.
Well, we'll see what happens. Hopefully it gets resolved soon, because I don't want anything to happen to my beloved Andor. And on the bright side, I don't think the writing could get any worse for Rings of Power, so I'm okay with that one. Just
it might get better.
Forward. That's true. A little refresh in the writers.
Those writers don't need paid anymore. I feel like they're getting paid appropriately.
You're doing us a favor there. All right, let's get into the topic at hand, because we're 45 minutes into the episode and we haven't talked about it yet. But that's fine. That was a good little chunk there. Sib, we'll have to have an episode on the writer's strike and get some people in here that
it's still developing
the other side of the equation. So we wanted to talk about the state of gaming subscription services. It's been a topic of contention in our Discord just about every other week. They're
next, right as we transition the topic, Mike like disappears.
It always freezes in the most bizarre. Look, like, what's he doing? Hugging his mic?
Yeah, he's cuddling his mic. Yeah,
coddling the mic.
His mic. Oh wait, I think he's back.
Yeah,
boost your internet, dude.
Funnel all my internet into this node.
All of it? Are you sure? Your wife is definitely watching some dumb show.
That's probably
in 4K.
Bridgerton 4K.
No, always a passionate discussion happening about this in our Discord at least every other week, and thought it'd be fun to dive into because it's an interesting question. There are a lot of questions that I don't know if we're actually gonna answer tonight. There's a lot of big like abstract questions, but essentially we want to just dig into it. Which one that we think is the best, offers the best value for your dollar between Game Pass, PlayStation Plus, Nintendo Switch Online, and then there are a couple other random ones. What has the best catalog of games? What, do these services help or hurt the game industry? What will they have any sort of long-term impact on the industry? Are they here to stay? Is this the future of gaming? Or are we gonna, are these gonna fade away in 5 years or so? With that being said, do any of you two, yeah, I said
Either of
any
you
of
would
you.
be the
I know that was came out really weird. Have either of you guys subscribed to one of these services? Are you currently subscribed, or are you just rolling, free of gaming subscription services at the moment? Chad, we'll start with you. I'm just starting with you tonight with everything.
Okay. Yeah, I do subscribe to PlayStation's version of this, and I don't know what tier, whatever the highest tier is. Essential. I don't know what the tiers are. Whatever the highest tier is.
Platinum.
And then Nintendo Switch Online, but just the base, not like the expansion plus or whatever it's called. Just the base one.
Name ever.
And I think that was I did that primarily for like cloud saves or something on there that I needed for 3 Switches in the house. So yeah, I do subscribe to those two.
Nick.
I'm a lean, mean gaming machine. I don't have any reoccurring costs other than the ones when I explicitly buy a game. So no subs, no gaming
Nice.
subs. I don't even have PlayStation Live, so no nothing. I can't even multiplayer on that thing, which is fine because I don't want to. So I am completely subscription free.
Nice. I think the only one I use is Nintendo Switch Online. I dabble with Game Pass on PC every once in a while, but my last experience was pretty horrid, so it might be a hot minute before I go back there.
It's always crazy when there's like, yeah, you just are better off without our service.
Yeah.
Bye.
There's like, I have no idea why it's not working.
Yeah.
It's literally your
Goodbye.
job to have an idea of why it's not working.
I've canceled your subscription. Have a nice day.
Yeah. After 3 hours of disconnected calls and waiting on hold and being transferred.
Sounds like Bio and Mike are gonna have a fight tonight, not me.
I
don't
say
know
all
about-
that, and I still
Why? What's the fight about?
love the concept of Game Pass. I think it's a great.
I think he's gonna be defending Game Pass, and I'm here for Game Pass. So I don't
Yeah.
know what the fight's gonna be about.
Yeah, no. Now, if Chef was here, he'd be fighting all of us.
Yeah. Was he totally against it?
Oh yeah.
I'm taking the chef route. I'm against all this crap.
Yeah.
Bunch of nonsense.
So I looked up some stats. These are the only stats I could find that were somewhat recent. They're from 2022. This website polled a super random number of people, 1,099. I don't know why they stopped at like they didn't just
Find
find
that
one
extra
more
person,
person and
man.
get 1,200 people, but whatever. And here is the list from the highest, the most subscribed to least. So these are the percentages of the 1,100 people. PlayStation Plus was the highest at 41% subscribed to it. Then Amazon Prime / Luna was second at 39%.
Okay.
But they
Game-
okay, but do they give that away with Prime?
I believe so.
They cheat. The same thing with like Prime.
that's-
Technically, everyone who has a Prime subscription also has Amazon Prime. So
Yeah.
But
they
it's
probably
also
have
kind of
more.
crazy that they didn't beat out PlayStation, even with that factoid, because a lot of people have Prime that I would imagine a lot more people have Prime than people have PlayStation Plus. But
Yeah, I think maybe it's just people pulled because I bet
yeah,
like
yeah.
90% of these people pulled are Prime people.
right,
They probably just didn't realize that Amazon even had a game
Yeah,
division.
I
Yeah.
need all the for us to like really break these stats down for me to accept them. I need all the demographics of everyone that was polled and like how they pulled that sample, because I don't trust any statistics until I see the whole thing.
There you go. Sib's mom doesn't have Prime Gaming, but he utilizes her account. The only reason I know about Prime Gaming is because of Twitch. I'm on Twitch all the time, have a Prime account, have it linked to Twitch, and they give away free games every month, so I always check it out. But anyways, Game Pass is number 3 at 37%. Google Play at 37%, tied for a third with Game Pass. Netflix Games at 33%. We also have reoccurring
George
subscription for
Thomas.
gaming. It's called the Internet. You're stupid. Get out of here.
That escalated
Nintendo's-
quickly.
I don't need the internet to play my games though.
Well, some games you do. That's a whole other
Some.
topic. At number 5, Nintendo Switch Online at 32%, Apple Arcade at 27%, EA Play at 26%, GeForce Now. I didn't even know they had like GeForce. Don't they just make like graphics cards? Like
Thought so, yeah.
they have a gaming subscription service. 19% of people were subscribed to, and then Google Stadia, which I believe is no longer a thing anymore, had 18%. So yeah, PlayStation Plus at the top, 41%, almost half
That's
of the
right.
people pulled.
Yeah. But you
Yeah.
have to have some tier of that to have live co-op
So
multiplayer.
right. You
Now
do
that's
need
how
that.
it's set up.
Yeah, you do need that. That also is from 2022, and the PlayStation Plus. I don't even know when they launched that. Was it last year? The tiered system? I think it was.
Yeah, it was.
So who even knows if that's part of it? You know what I mean? That might just be PlayStation Plus as it was before the tiered system.
This is true. Yeah.
Civ says, like, who knew Netflix had a gaming sub? I knew they were getting into gaming, just because I saw articles when we were doing the newscast stuff. But I haven't checked it out.
They need to focus on not that and developing interactive shows more.
Yeah, dude.
Like Bandersnatch and stuff
that
like that.
Black Mirror movie.
Mhm.
Yeah, they need to pivot into that and not do the gaming's got enough. There's enough people making video games. There's enough video games out there. Like, we don't need Netflix making video games.
Yeah, I agree. Although it might be sweet. I don't know.
Yeah,
Depends.
sure.
Could be sweet.
It's probably all mobile games.
Yeah.
For your TV, like remote with your
Right.
Yeah.
But if I have Netflix on my PlayStation and do Netflix gaming and I have my controller through my PlayStation, like, that's a weird
It's very
inception of
yes.
I use my PlayStation controller to play my Netflix games.
Yeah.
So I think
Trippy.
we're just going to take away all the other ones that aren't the big three. So we're just going to really talk about PlayStation Plus, Xbox Game Pass, and Nintendo Switch Online. So since you two, I haven't used PlayStation Plus since the PS4, like early on PS4 and PS3 era. What's PlayStation Plus like these days? You talk about there's a tiered system now. Like, how many games are coming out? Back when I was on it, you got like 2 pretty decent, like, big titles, maybe a year or 2 old, and then you got like 3 or 4 little indie titles. What's it like now?
Yeah, it's pretty different now. It's more in line with, I don't want to say more in, yeah, I am going to say more in line with Game Pass. There's like a catalog of games that you can get. They are still giving away the free games every month. So you're still getting those, but you also have a deep catalog of games to go through. PS2, PS1, PS3. The only thing that my hang up with PS3 is that you have to stream them, and I can't stand that. I can't stand streaming games. So I don't know what's going on with the PS3. They can't figure out how to emulate it on the 5 or what's going on. But for those ones specifically, you have to stream them. But I will say there does seem to be a decent amount. I super appreciate that when you go to the store and you like look up a game, it will tell you if it's on there, like, so you don't buy it and it's already on the thing, which might be how all they are. I've never done Game Pass, so I don't know. But yeah, it seems like they're adding a lot to it and a lot of quality stuff as well. But also focusing on other parts of their business as well, which I think is something we'll get into later. But yeah, it seems to be sweet. I haven't really utilized it too much just because this year is already freaking crazy with games. Like it's like the year of dreams for me. Like we got Survivor and Tears of the Kingdom, possibly Spider-Man 2. Like there's so much good stuff coming out this year that it's going to be a while before I'm looking at a backlog of games to play.
Yeah.
So
what makes you subscribe at the platinum level if you're not looking for the game benefits? Like what are the other
yeah, so there's game trials that they have on there as well. I can't remember what specifically made me, because I think there's 3 tiers and I did the middle one originally, but something made me bump up and it might have been a game trial, and I can't remember what, Cyberpunk or something, but there's game trials and stuff on there, and then a deeper catalog of games. And I think the upper ranks are where you get the PS2 and the PS1 stuff. So if you subscribe to the lower ones, you're not getting any of that stuff. So
how, like, with Game Pass, they'll put out like day one releases free on Game Pass. Does PlayStation do anything like that, or are they all still similar to back in the day where it's like, you know, a game's 6 months, maybe a year old?
Yeah, I don't know. I know that there were a couple games maybe that went up there day one. They're still trying to work. We're very early in PlayStation's development cycle of this thing as they're trying to sort it out. So I don't know that big games are getting put on there. Like I don't think you're going to see Jedi Survivor or any first party games maybe. But I know that's a big thing that Xbox does for what it's worth. I don't know. I would like to know how developers feel about that, or publishers feel about those games going on there, because that's got to hurt them in some capacity, I imagine, right? Like it's got to be.
We'll get into that because I looked some of that up.
Okay.
I will say though, PlayStation has been doing the giving away free games, I think just as long or maybe longer than Xbox. And I remember in the PS3 era, PlayStation Plus, the free game perks blew Xbox.
Oh yeah, they've been doing
out
it
of the water.
Yeah, they've been doing it for a very, very, very long time. Well before Xbox started giving away their games with gold or whatever they called it back in the day.
Yeah. Since then, I think Game Pass has kind of really evolved and kind of just blew PlayStation Plus, the game benefits part, kind of out of the water. Civ can probably add some in chat here, but yeah, Game Pass, I'm telling you, from the perspective of a strictly PC gamer who really prefers to game on a budget, Game Pass is, when it works, a steal. Like if you're not worried about the cloud gaming and like streaming games like that, you can get Game Pass on PC for $10, and there's like 300 games in that library, and they're putting a few day one releases on Game Pass, and not like small games. Trying to think. Civ, you can help me out with some of the bigger day one.
Redfall? Did Redfall go on? I hope so.
I think it did, actually.
Oh, thank goodness.
But yeah, as someone who's like not as interested in spending $70 every 2 weeks on a new game, paying $10 a month to try out a handful of, games that are maybe 3 months old, it's pretty great steal. Nick, is there anything that could possibly like entice you to try out a subscription service? Are you pretty like content with your backlog as is? Like you got enough stuff to work through?
Yeah. So how much is like something like Game Pass?
Game Pass, $10.
$10. Yeah.
Okay. So 120 a year. I guess like that would have to be cheaper than what I spend on games a year, but it wouldn't like it's close, right? So I
Mhm.
probably buy 4 games a year on deep discount sales, right? Um, and that still outpaces my ability to play games. So like my backlog still gets deeper even at that rate of buying games.
Yeah.
Um, so I just simply like don't play enough games
Yeah.
to like constant like to I would never finish any games if that was the case. And I like to finish games. And I play a lot of RPGs. So if I'm just like starting 100 games, playing 2 hours of them,
Yeah.
I'm like getting nowhere. Like that really feels
Yeah.
like a waste of time for me. So I mean, obviously, I think it's interesting, right? Because I think when you get into like people who consistently spend money on games, play lots of games, and that's like their MO, that's like where it gets interesting when the philosophies differ, right? Where you either love it or you do not love it.
Mhm.
But like for people like me, I would say, I think arguably it could make sense. But then I think, but the problem is like, yeah, 120 a year, but I don't want all those options to
Yeah.
play,
You're not
right?
looking for like you're looking for specific games. You're not
I'm
like
looking at the 10
what's
in
out
my
there
like
to try
PlayStation.
out. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And plus
So
I wait for like people like Chad and like you to like tell me like what I need to play. And I
bro,
go
Yeah.
get it out that
if
way.
you're coming to me about what you need to play, you're like
You got
a
problems. Yeah.
decade behind like
Yeah.
current
What,
gaming.
You need a Switch
what are you talking about?
or
You
an
bought War
emulator.
Tales like the day of.
Hey, that was a unique
One
scenario
example.
where
Yeah.
a lovely person gifted it to me.
Sure, but if okay, you didn't even buy it.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Civ says here, by the way, these are some of the day one titles: Grounded, Halo Infinite, Starfield will be day one.
But when is
They have
that
big
day
game.
one?
That means
No,
the
when
day.
is that day
Oh,
one?
when Starfield? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So they have big games on day one. I'm sorry you had a bad experience. I know JoJo had a good experience with his PC Game Pass. It was just we don't even need to get into the experience. It
Yeah,
broke, and then
we've heard it. Yeah,
their
it
support
broke.
sucked.
Yeah.
But I like,
Microsoft support sucks. No
yeah,
way.
shocking,
That's not a freaking thing, is it? I
shocking.
do have to stop you because I will say that while I think Game Pass started this ball rolling and got everything rolling, I think PlayStation might have surpassed. I mean, I think the catalog for PlayStations is like maybe more than double the games that Game Pass has now. Do they have
Oh,
the day
wow.
one stuff? Not yet. Is it coming? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know how at least the first party studios feel about it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I don't know if I was making a game, if I would want it on Game Pass or anything like this. I want you to pay the $70 for it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think I have to look up specific numbers, but last time it was like 700 games on there versus
Oh,
300
nice.
on Game Pass. So
Yeah. Another like super random one. That's, I mean, not strictly, but mainly geared towards PC gaming. Humble Bundle monthly is really cool. It's a thing that I used to do a while ago.
Same.
I forget what the price is. Maybe it was like $15 at the time I was doing it.
There was different tiers. There's like 3
Yeah,
tiers.
and
There's like
it's not just gaming either. They do like software, I think, and then some like ebook stuff maybe. But that was a cool thing. They would give you 2 bigger. It was similar to PlayStation Plus, where you get like 2 bigger titles and then like 15 like either old games or like indie games. I did that for like 3 or 4 months, and my Steam library has like 200 games in it that I've never played, which both was awesome, but also sucks because now I just like have way too much in the backlog.
yeah,
The cool thing about Humble Bundle is they would donate like 10% or something to a charity you chose, which was pretty cool.
Well, the cool thing about that too that I liked and what I did is I didn't subscribe to it monthly. You could snipe months that you
Yeah,
wanted,
yeah.
which was really cool. So like if there was a bundle, obviously that had at least like the one AAA would be worth it alone.
Mhm.
And then there's even then I occasionally would like some of the the lesser games in there, and everything else was a bonus. So, is that still around? That's a
Yeah.
legit. That one's legit. That one's my most favorite.
Yeah,
price
Humble
still.
Bundle is pretty cool. And I think they would they only tell you the big like AAA game, and then the rest was just kind of a mystery until you got it?
Some capacity. Like I think like halfway through the current month, they would start revealing what was in the next month, and then like I think a couple days before, and then the day of would be obviously everything.
Yeah. So Civ says it was Steam that was the ball roller. Microsoft followed suit for the new ideas, games as a service.
Steam has a subscription service?
No, but I think he means more so having like a gaming client that you like buy and play your games through.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because Steam does not have a subscription service that I'm aware of.
And I mean, and probably what hurts Microsoft is that Steam is a PC gaming client, right? And they completely just like swiped that market out from underneath Microsoft on their own operating system.
Which is hilarious because you talked about that, like, I forget if it was last week or the week before, but you're like, why doesn't Xbox tailor more stuff towards PC? Because hello, Microsoft.
Yeah.
It's a great question.
And it's and I mean, I installed the Xbox whatever app, right? And because it's now more than just a console, it's like the app, right, on your PC. Because if you have that, you need that to play like Age of Empires 2 online, so like Microsoft games online. So that's cool, and it's all integrated, but it's also just like Steam, right? You bring up the overlay and you have your chat stuff. But what I did not like about it was like there's a ton of Microsoft crap in there. Like you can see your computer resources, which is helpful, but like it's just like a bunch of extra like Microsoft nonsense. Because their problem is, and I have the same problem with them at work, is like they have too much crap built into all their things, and like half of it's just like ancient that just needs to be scrapped. And there's newer, cleaner, younger systems that just don't come with all that extra crap. Because I feel like at Microsoft, they're like, hey, build this thing. And they build it. And then all the other departments come in like, oh, yeah, add this, add this, add this, add that, add this. And then before you know it, you're like, I'm just kind of on my desktop right now.
Right.
I'm trying to play a game.
Yeah. So I got the tiers here for PlayStation to further answer your questions earlier. So Essential is the base tier, and that appears to be just old school PlayStation Plus. Get your monthly games, get your PlayStation Plus collection, which has some of the bigger first party games on there. Extra gets you the games catalog, which is all the newer stuff, PS4, PS5 games. Ubisoft Classics as well in that. And then the deluxe is the game trials. And I think that's what I got it for. I wanted to do a game trial, and it was cheaper to try the game than to actually buy it and not like it. But yeah, there's a lot of trials on there. Some of them are ridiculous, like Skywalker Saga, the new Lego Star Wars game is like an hour. Like I'm not going to be able to decide if I want to buy it in an hour probably. Right. But
Civ says, actually, I lied. Sega TV was the first one who tried it. I loved it. 30 games a month that changed, and a trial of a new game every week. Yeah, the rotating game catalog is pretty cool too. I put a poll up on our community page of our YouTube channel, and also on Twitter, asking what your go-to gaming service is. Got 11 votes on YouTube, and Game Pass and no thanks, I buy my games tied 36%. PlayStation Plus came in second at 18%, Nintendo Switch Online 9%. And we did get a comment from my buddy Jared. He said, although I do think Xbox Game Pass is one of the best deals, I've been using PlayStation Plus more recently, which has also gone way up in quality. Not having a PC or a new generation Xbox, I have been noticing makes using Game Pass a little harder, since many new games are Series X S exclusive. which means I can only stream them, which the quality of the experience varies. Yeah, they're doing a current playthrough of Hi-Fi Rush, and he started out trying to stream it on cloud to his TV, and he was like, yeah, it's literally like unplayable.
Yeah.
Especially
that's what
since
I'm
it's
saying.
like a rhythm game. It's just
yeah, you can't do stream. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody out there that's got ridiculous internet that can stream fairly easily, but not in this house. That's why the PS, it sucks because there's a lot of PS3 games I'd like to play. I'm not going to stream them though until
Yeah.
they figure out how I can download them.
Yeah.
It's just not
So
gonna happen.
people in chat, please, since we have Joe and Civ in here, which are huge Game Pass stands, can you let me know like what makes you love Game Pass so much? Like if you had to pick one reason, like what would be your pitch to someone who doesn't have Game Pass? The Twitter poll, 100% PlayStation Plus. So thank you for that one vote. It was very meaningful. Appreciate you.
You didn't have to say there's only one vote.
Yeah, you could just shut the we didn't need that information, bro.
Granted, I did put it out like 20 minutes into the episode, so we'll see if it grows. But yeah, so the big topic in our passionate Discord conversations.
Joe has a reply incoming.
Oh gosh, I play games. They have games.
Yep.
It's not. He's
kinda-
not wrong.
I mean, that's how I see Game Pass. Game Pass is just this huge library of just so many games, and especially someone like Joe who just likes to like bop around different games and try new things.
Mm-hmm.
It makes
Civ's-
sense.
Yeah, Civ says it's a cheap way to try out a bunch of cross-console games. Yeah.
Cross console.
Yeah. So the big topic of contention in our discussions in Discord often revolve around these services and whether or not they impact the quality of games that studios are pumping out. 100% targeted towards Microsoft. This is always a one-sided attack on Microsoft, which we talked about. I forget if it was last week or the week before, but basically Phil Spencer is like, yeah, our games kind of suck. And not even Starfield getting like 100 out of 10 will make people want to buy Xboxes. I'm only slightly paraphrasing, by the way.
Yes.
So is that a result of Game Pass, or is that a result of Microsoft just having terrible in-house studios and partnering with not great studios to develop their
it's
original
probably a combination of those two things, but I think it's a hyper focus on Game Pass that is killing Xbox. And you can see it now, especially after the release of Redfall. There are major Xbox podcasts and channels that are just bad mouthing the crap out of Xbox finally. Like they've had enough after the Redfall release, and rightfully so. They have no game, no exclusives, and that's what everything is built on. No matter how you want to look at it, you need new games that are only on your console to sell consoles. That's how it works, and it's not happening in the one that has come out is Redfall, and it is getting slaughtered, absolutely slaughtered. I think it's
5 out of
sitting
10 on Steam, 24% like the video game.
Yeah, I mean it's awful. Look at the Metacritic. It's like
what is
the
this
user
game?
ratings like under 5.
It's like a Vampire Borderlands.
Oh, it sounds horrible.
It's
So
like a 4-person co-op vampire shooter.
I follow a couple of Xbox pages, a couple of on Facebook, YouTube channels, podcasts, and the tide of the talk is changing on these channels, and it's no longer defending that next year will be the year for Xbox. They've had enough, and you can go listen to it. It's not coming out of my mouth. They have had enough, and Redfall was the final match lit. I think there, it's a fine idea. Game Pass. I like the idea of Game Pass, but you also have to have new games coming out as well, because eventually people are not going to want to play old games. They want to play newer stuff. And when you're competing with Nintendo, who's cranking out new games by the truckload that are all quality for the most part. There's a few exceptions with the new Pokemon and that, and
Yeah, I don't wanna talk
PlayStation
about
with the same track record. I mean, I don't think that any PlayStation first party game has ever come out and reviewed as bad as Redfall has reviewed and has done, and has been as broken as Redfall is. So it's crunch time for them, man. They are really, they need to focus on Starfield, and that game needs to come out and be pristine, ready to go. Again, the
So
unfortunate thing is Bethesda's working on that game, and they have a hard time putting out games that are put together in the past 10 years. They have
Yeah.
a hard time putting out quality games. So we'll see. But
So do you think, because PlayStation Plus is a thing that exists and it's not something that Sony is just like, you know, throwing a life jacket to, they're like, PlayStation Plus is an acceptable quality service.
yeah, it's on the top of most top lists for these things. So yeah.
So why is there a difference between Sony, their use of PlayStation Plus, and the amazing quality exclusives versus Microsoft, their attention to Game Pass, and the poor exclusives or lack of exclusives?
It's a focus. It's a focus issue. Microsoft has been so hyper focused on Game Pass for the past, since this console release, really. It's been a major focus. And Sony has been focusing on first party games coming out, cranking out these first party games. Now they're going back and focusing on because they see the Game Pass is very popular, right?
Mhm.
And it is very popular. So why not do something like that for PlayStation? Because a lot of the older PlayStation games are very difficult to play. They're like the PS1, PS2, PS3 games. They're hard to come across. So why would
Mhm.
you not do it? It's a no brainer. But they are still keeping that focus on cranking out new games, which is what this entire industry is based off of. Sure. Do we want to play older games? Yeah. In the months where there's no new games coming out, that's how I work, at least. I'll play older games, but it's not going to be when, Survivor's out and Tears of the Kingdom's out and all these new games are coming out. It's going to be months where it's dry. So
Yeah. So Civ says, I don't agree. I think the more games you have access to for a more affordable price, the better.
not
I agree from a player's standpoint, but that doesn't really address the question that we were talking about.
no, it doesn't.
Does the over reliance on a thing like Game Pass affect the quality that this, like, does it affect the budgets of these studios to be able to like make quality games, develop new IPs, have time to work on stuff that's not being released quickly? So yeah, I don't know. While I was like trying to look up stuff regarding this, I found out maybe how the payments from Xbox to studios work with Game Pass. It's from an article. Spencer says that Xbox pays for the entire production cost in some cases, and some developers demand that they get paid a certain amount up front to allow Xbox to put their game on Game Pass. Others like a usage payout where they get paid depending on the hours their game gets played or the number of users. So that, Chad, kind of is how the payment structure works from Microsoft to the developers. And I think that leads to, a couple pros and cons, right? And the impact. So what I gathered is obviously the cons, you're going to have lower production budget because people aren't spending $70 on your game. If they're
Right.
paying for Game Pass, they're going to get
Yeah.
it for free. So you're just relying on whatever flat fee Xbox is giving you, or if you're waiting for like the Spotify stream payout of, I don't even know how that would work on Xbox, but so you get lower production budget. How will these companies then offset those costs? You're going to get a lot of microtransactions, I'm assuming,
Yeah.
which no gamer loves.
Right.
But on the pro side of things, for us, not essentially for the developers, well, maybe in some cases, you're going to get a lot more exposure to indie games that people normally wouldn't even know existed, but they're browsing through Game Pass or PlayStation Plus, and they're like, "Oh, this looks like a cool, fun little game. I never heard of this. Let's check it out." Or on the flip side, you'll get more people playing your game that maybe wouldn't have been interested in paying full price for it. And we'll just use Redfall because it's the game that's been thrown around a lot. Maybe I wouldn't have bought Redfall, but it's on Game Pass, so I'll try it out. Bad example because the game sucks.
Yeah, I was gonna say that hurts. yeah.
But say there's a fun game that maybe you were on the fence about, and you decide to try it out because it's on Game Pass. That doesn't. I don't think that unless the developer is getting that Spotify stream, payout, that's really not going to help them too much. Because the games that they don't rotate out of these services very quickly. So it's not like unless you discover this game browsing Game Pass or PlayStation Plus like the day before they remove it, odds are you're going to beat it before they remove it. Therefore, you're not going to have any incentive or need to then go purchase it because you've already played through it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I just disagree with the way that Xbox handles their business. They just throw money at everything and then nothing, like they're not. Is that the problem? Is it a money issue for these first party studios because Microsoft is spending it on buying these games and paying the developers to put them on Game Pass? I just don't understand why the idea of let's just buy everything. Let's just give these people money and then not ever come out with anything new. It's going to eventually become a streaming box where you go to get Game Pass. And we talked about that last episode.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's what they want. I don't know. Maybe that's what they're thinking.
I mean, I think it's a general issue that all mega corporations have. Like they just lose their heart and soul in it. That's why like small literal indie studios like make really awesome games on Steam, right?
Yeah.
Like War Tales, that's the same people that made Northgard. Northgard's a beautiful, wonderful little game. And like we like these games, these new games from new developers because they have something there. They have a lot of care. Microsoft, like they buy these companies either directly or indirectly. They get gutted in the process because people leave or they shit can people and then they install their order of operations and it just strips away any humanity and it's just part of the big machine. And all the way at the top they're like, okay, what statistically financially makes more sense?
But it
for
just
all these other things that are like that make sense for a mega corporation don't make sense for like a small studio that just cares about making games.
Yeah, I don't know. It just like you have to imagine, and according to the numbers, that like Microsoft's getting slaughtered this generation like they did last generation. So at some point they need to be like,
they at least had a fighting
we
chance
need to
last
change
generation.
something.
Yeah.
We need to change something here. Game Pass was a great idea. We love that idea, but we need new games coming out, new quality games that aren't Halo, Forza, or Gears. Simple. I mean, it's simple. I don't understand that. Like, there's a board of directors that can't come up with the idea that we need to put new games out, new quality games.
Which is hilarious because that's what Nintendo lives off the back of.
Yeah,
it's
literally
30 and 40-year-old IPs.
Yeah,
just like that's probably what they were hoping. Like, clearly, it made sense when they were buying these companies that they wanted to own the IPs. They wanted to own Bethesda, and the next one and all of those, and they wanted to own those IPs. So, but it's weird that they own them and now they aren't doing anything with them. And even if they do something with them, it sucks. That's the hard thing because usually when people buy IPs, they tend to want, like Disney, they buy Marvel, they buy Star Wars, and they want to do great things with them. They might have missteps, but obviously I think missteps with movies and shows are a little easier to recover from than like these $500 million games.
Yes.
Yeah. Civ has a few comments that we'll get to in a second. But I want to go back to the last part of the pros and cons. So the impact that this will, I think, inevitably have is we'll get shorter games, not necessarily worse games, but smaller games because, again, you got that lower production budget. So not enough time to build something massive.
Are you telling me my open world games have reached their peak? And like they're going to start contracting.
No. For maybe Xbox games.
Good thing I don't
Because
play
you're gonna have like you talked about, you have your indie studios that are gonna make whatever they want,
Yeah.
because they're passionate about it and they're making a game they want to play, so they're gonna make it and make it to their heart's content, right? But that, and then the one impact that could be a positive here is forcing developers to get a little more creative with what they're doing and what they're working with. But yeah, I don't want to like, I don't know. I think it's too early to tell if these really are like a terrible thing for the industry or if they're like a great thing for the industry. Because I don't know. You have two different approaches here, and they're kind of going in opposite directions, so it's like hard to gauge.
The future of Microsoft's just gonna be like, hey, this game was produced, developed, and published by Bing Chat. Like 100% AI game. Like a CEO clicked a button and there's your game. But I was talking with Dad about that offline.
At least it's a game, right?
Yeah, at least
This
it's a
isn't a
game. And that's, I mean, that's honestly, it's gonna get to the point where like all you need to be is like creative and like have some like mechanical understanding of what you want to create, and you can just like speak to an AI and it will just do it for you. Like it'll be at that point.
Yeah, still waiting for sprite making to be able to be made by AI. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, we'll get there.
So Civ says, yes, it does affect their overall cost value. That they maybe aren't worth as much since Game Pass allows the game on day one without actually buying it. And he says, so let me say this. I recognize that Game Pass takes their most downloaded games off relatively quickly. The less downloaded games they leave for more people to try. With that, you have to buy those awesome games once they take them off.
They do take games off.
They do take games off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, PlayStation Plus also takes games off.
Yep.
Nintendo, dude, I don't even.
Out of
even
curiosity,
look at Nintendo's thing because it's garbage.
If they take those games off, you lose access to them, correct?
Game Pass?
Yeah,
I believe so.
Okay, because like so I don't have too much usage of PlayStation's thing, but like when they were giving those free games away, those are yours forever, right?
As long as you have PlayStation
as long as you
Plus.
as long as you don't let it right, correct.
But if they remove it, then you can't like go and download it. But as long as you have it like in your cart or whatever,
you add it in,
like
you have to add it into your library.
Like you and they take it off, then you're good to go.
But I'm saying Game Pass, if they take it off, it's gone.
I believe so. We'll
and I think
Civ
PlayStation
and Joe to
I think PlayStation Plus is the same. Yeah,
crazy.
I didn't know the Activision deal got blocked either.
Too big.
Too big. I didn't know that.
Too much.
Which is interesting.
Then I think I saw something that Microsoft hired some like crazy UK lawyer that's like defended
Fighting
like the Queen at one point, like some like lord like kingship attorney or something.
Yeah, I mean that makes me happy, and I hope that it can. I hope they don't appeal it and it doesn't get overturned, because I think it again, disagreeing with their business plan. I think it's just shitty to go around and buy the big studios of games because you're not making games to sell your consoles. I think it's a shitty way to do it. I mean,
and Activision probably could have had their own console if they wanted to. They saying go that route. Like they are big enough and were big enough that they could have their own console like Sony did.
Yeah. Right.
So like that's why it's so crazy. That would be like Microsoft buying Sony. Like almost. Not to that degree, but it's a pretty big swing of the dick there, trying to say like we want to buy Activision, and you know what are they gonna, after already buying major studios,
right,
all within like the 5-year time frame, like
right,
someone's got to be like, yo, you guys got to pump the brakes.
Yeah, I mean,
ruin everything.
We talked about it when it first came out. I didn't think Activision, that acquisition was going to be the end all be all of the console wars. I think Call of Duty's dying slowly every year. and that's their main. I mean, obviously, there's a lot more with Activision, but that's the main reason they wanted to buy it, probably.
Yes.
So it's interesting that it got blocked. I totally missed that.
Dang monopolies.
Joe says if they take it off, you cannot access the game. You can purchase it at a discount though,
Oh,
which is nice.
that's nice.
Civ says gold lets you play if you have gold. Pass won't let you play once removed.
Yeah, so that's so it's the same as the essential of the PlayStation Plus. The old school PlayStation Plus is what gold was
Yeah.
for
Nice.
Xbox.
So then the last question I had to look at, again, I don't know if like the survey I found is the end all be all to what is actually the most subscribed gaming service or not. But is there a correlation between the highest subbed service and the lowest quality exclusives? According to what I found, there is not, because PlayStation is the highest subbed service out of the big three. Well, I mean, out of all the ones that were listed, but we all know that their exclusives tend to blow everything else out of the water. So I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think?
There's not. Yeah, there. Like I said, it's the that's not the correlation. The correlation is that Xbox was so hyper focused on Game Pass that they let that side, the other side of their business, slip by the wayside. I don't think it really has anything to do with Game Pass. I don't think Game Pass is causing. I mean, indirectly, it's causing probably a lack of new games just because they're so hyper focused on it. But I don't think that it is directly affecting the quality of games that are coming or not coming.
No, you make a good point, because it's just the where they're channeling all their energy. It's not like I think we all agree that these subscription services are great for us players because you're getting access to a good amount of stuff, which is always good when you get stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if that's all you're focusing on, though, like everything else will suffer.
Yeah, but like with the right combination of things, the subscription services, and I've always felt this way about when, they charge for live and they started charging for PlayStation Network, is it's like the icing on the cake for the buy-in from the player, right? Because like coming out of the 360 and the PlayStation 3 era, like it was not uncommon for people to own both consoles.
Right.
But there was some indication there, the next tier in terms of like what camp are you in, like which one did you subscribe to for live. So the fact that Microsoft no longer has like a solid console player base to like make Game Pass this like icing feature where like, yeah, I'm fully invested in being an Xbox person. Whereas Sony, like, I have PlayStation 5. I'm going to subscribe to live because I want to play multiplayer. And oh, look, I have like just for a few bucks more, I can like unlock all this other content that further buys me in to this. So like, I get the whole idea of like, I think I've always thought that we should have cross console experiences, but I still am a firm believer that there should be, and like the market is driven by having console camps. Like you need to pick somewhere to be. That's just how gamers think. Like we are very campy type people. Like I play I was in World of Warcraft. People play World of Warcraft. What they do, they play World of Warcraft. Like they are firmly in that camp and like they live and die by it. And like that's how it used to be between Sony and Xbox. But Xbox kind of has done a lot to just say, we don't really care about that anymore.
Yeah, and it's certainly concerning, especially over this past 2 weeks since Redfall. Like even like I said, like even the diehard Xbox fans, and I'll be honest with you, the only two that I interact with on a regular basis are Bio and Joe. Nobody else that I know has an Xbox. So those are the only two that I ever hear defending it outside of dedicated podcasts or Facebook pages. They're even bad-mouthing Xbox now. The diehard fan base has had enough. So
Civ says, but Game Pass allows you to access 300 plus games on any device. You don't need
It's
a
irrelevant
console
to
to
me.
access most of the games people love. But this, while
But that's it, though.
okay, so first
you don't need
things
an
first.
Xbox.
Yeah,
You're
that's
supposed to be
exactly
That's where
it.
I was gonna go.
Yeah.
So my beef is not with Game Pass. I think all of our beef is with Xbox and like what they're doing with their company. What you list here as a pro is ultimately the
huge
worst
con.
con because they need to sell consoles.
Yes.
And
Like-
what I was going to say before this comment even came in is, you know, I tossed around the idea of like maybe buying a cheap, which one is just the digital Xbox, the S or whatever,
Yes.
X, whatever, whichever one is the digital one. I'm like,
The
you know,
SXXL.
honestly, SS tricky. Honestly, you know, maybe buying a cheap Xbox just to run Game Pass through, that wouldn't be a terrible thing. And then I'm like, oh wait, I don't even need to do that because I can just get Game Pass for PC and only pay $10.
And then to coincide with that story, and I told this already, I was on the fence buying a Series X primarily because I need another console, and I thought it was kind of stupid to buy another PlayStation 5. Looked at their games, there's nothing selling me a Series X currently. So
I don't know about this, Civ.
See,
I usually agree with a lot of the stuff that you say when it comes to gaming, but I don't.
no, dude.
He says no. They
doesn't
need
make
to sell
sense.
subscriptions, not consoles.
They
They
need to do
sell
that.
subs.
They need to do both.
They
but
need to do that if
Right.
they
need
just
consoles.
want to be a subscription service. Yes, 100%. They do need to sell subscriptions if that's the model they're going with. If they're trailing to get rid of their console, that makes sense. Outside of that, it does not make sense. Game Pass is not going to sell a console. Not
Right.
when you can play it on your PC.
or your phone,
It's just a simple
or
fact.
cloud through your
And-
TV.
And
Mhm.
for that reason, PlayStation has sold more subscriptions because they have a console. Like they go in tandem. Otherwise, you're just like a streaming service. But like you're sitting there with your PlayStation and you're like, well, I might as well just subscribe to this, play all the exclusives I want, have all that access, and I also get all the extra features around the PlayStation.
Mhm.
Whereas like Game Pass doesn't give you anything other than those 300 plus games. You're not
Right.
bought into anything because you can do that anywhere.
And you
Yeah.
could look, and if you're looking as a new consumer going in right now, if we're talking today, I'm looking at a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X. You're going to look at the Series X, see that Game Pass has 300 games, nothing new of any value really since the console was released. Or you're going to look at PlayStation, who's had 5, 6, 7 quality exclusives that have come just to the PS5. And 700 games on their subscription service, which is more than double what you're going to get on Xbox. It's not even close. There's not a comparison, and I think the sales show that. I mean,
And yeah, they and like Ballot's right. Like they are they want to be a subservice. They've made that clear. But the weird
that's
thing
fine.
is like it is a little apparent that if you want to sell more subs, you need to have more exclusive games that come out on a exclusive console. Like that's what's working for the other developers. But
yes,
I don't know why Microsoft's just falling back and like we just want to be Netflix and have no hardware anywhere when your whole entire company is based on hardware and software.
Jeff
And they're
says,
just like, we just want software.
right. Jeff says, I was in the Xbox camp for years, still got my PS4, won't go back to Xbox. I mean, come on, we're not going to poo-poo on everything, but I mean, I'm
We
more of
are.
a PlayStation guy myself too.
yeah, we are.
Joe says, I only have PC Game Pass. I prefer PlayStation, but PlayStation Pass requires console.
And
I feel like they are entering into the PlayStation Plus PC like realm now, but it's like not good at this moment.
and that's a perfect and I'm sorry I misspoke on you, Joe. I knew that you preferred PlayStation now, but you and I were both very Xbox driven back in the day, diehard Xbox fans. And I think once you switched over to PlayStation, I was like, okay, they've got a problem because Joe was like very diehard Xbox. But like I said, dude, I know nobody outside of Bio who defends or even talks about Xbox that's not on like a podcast about Xbox. So
Bio loves gaming. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. But I mean, at some point, you got to be like, okay, dude,
Where's
you love
I think the
gaming.
big
Where
thing
are the
is like,
games?
where are the exclusives?
Where are the games? That's what we're saying.
Even if you get rid of the console thing
Yeah.
and you're still just a subservice, where are the games? People want quality exclusive games because like there aren't many people who don't have any console. Like there are not many new to gaming gamers these days. So you have to convince somebody to switch
Yeah.
or to add on to what they already have. Now, granted, if they do switch to a subscription model, that clearly is much cheaper than going and dropping $400 on a new console to be able to like interweave Xbox with your PlayStation, right? But still, if you already have
That
a
would,
PlayStation,
bro, that would make my life. If Xbox just became an app on the PlayStation that you downloaded to play these old games when Xbox was an awesome company and made really
I
cool
didn't mean
games.
like literally interweave those, but I meant with like your gaming like you know backlog.
Yeah,
or
I
whatever.
agree, and I'm sick of hearing people say that exclusives don't matter anymore. It's bullshit. Nintendo is driven entirely on exclusives. Have they upped their third-party
'cause
games?
nobody in their right mind would prefer to play any game on Switch that you can play literally anywhere else. I would
Right.
play stuff on my phone
Yes.
over buying it
Yes.
for the Switch.
So that argument is irrelevant to me. I don't think it's, they've been doing it for years. Now, what Nintendo also has going for them is they're relatively innovative with their console releases. Like that, the Wii was like revolutionary. I think the Switch is revolutionary for Nintendo as well.
Yeah.
So they have that going for them as well. They're a toy company that makes toys for the people that like their toys.
Right.
That's what
And plus,
Nintendo is.
I've talked about it a ton. Like I love being portable with gaming, so that's why I have the Switch. I do think it's funny because as we were talking,
Phil Spencer screwing our episode up again. Look at the pose this time. It's always
that's
the
a good
weirdest
one.
pose.
Yeah, I'm gonna screenshot it if I can.
Yeah, please screenshot that.
Oh, I got it. Yep. There we are. That's great. That's going in general.
So anyway, my point here is, Bio, I totally get where you're coming from, but it's time maybe to stop being so foot in the sand defending of Xbox, because the entire crowd of Xbox is going against you. It's time. Just come to the dark side.
I don't know
awesome
if it's
games over here.
I don't know if it's Civ or Phil.
Yeah,
one of them is not liking what I'm saying. And now this is what I was going to say, but we'll get to these comments first. So Jeff says we need exclusives. I can do everything I want on my PlayStation. Xbox does and get the exclusives, and PlayStation does it better.
Yep.
Civ's saying, Xbox is eventually going to switch to, being a streaming service essentially.
Okay, but is
or
that
a sub service?
Is that not
that
losing dramatically? That's like the fall of the Jedi, where they were on top of the world, and now they're like hidden in caves on Dagobah.
Hey, you know what? I will give them props though, because like if they've been trending downwards, like they have been over the last couple of releases, like why not reinvent yourself?
Dude, that's losing. That's not reinventing yourself.
No,
that is admitting to a loss.
So reinvent yourself so you can still make money.
But but my whole point about like gamers being, they like to pick a side. They like to roll with their crew. If you don't have a crew and you don't have the crew, can either be
Fast
a
and the Furious, or are we talking about gaming?
Yeah,
like
it doesn't have to be a console, but a console is a big help to being in a crew. If it's not a console you need to have good IPs that people want to buy all the time. But they have neither.
To the exclusives. Yep.
So if you're just a service selling subs, why there's no reason to buy subs. If you have no service, you have no games.
Yes.
And he says Slimer Rancher 2, Valheim, I don't know what SMD is other than suck my dick. But Valheim is not an exclusive.
It is, yeah.
Valheim,
Valheim's
no,
not.
PC, bro.
And I never heard of any of those. I mean, those are like the most obscure games you could have pulled out. You went into the depths of the Xbox catalog to pull those ones out.
Yeah.
So hang on.
So wait, hold on. This is what I
Okay,
was
go
gonna
ahead.
say before my internet decided to go out. I do think it's interesting when you're talking about Xbox hyper focusing on Game Pass, that they are that extreme, right? The top extreme of just focusing tunnel vision on Game Pass. They don't care about anything else. They want Game Pass. And then you have the complete opposite end of the spectrum, Nintendo, that's like, we just want to charge you to play games online and have cloud saves, and you'll do it because it's
Yeah.
Nintendo.
Yeah.
And we're gonna offer you like crumbs, like literal crumbs.
Literal.
They
yeah.
give you like some, Super Nintendo games and some Sega games. They tease you with the Game Boy Advance and like Nintendo 64, but those are like locked behind the new
3 different
plus
paywalls.
expansion, extra credit thing.
Here, you have to give Nintendo credit. Nintendo puts out their games, and outside of whatever the most recent Pokemon game is, their games are always well put together, very well put together. They run great. They look. I don't want to say they look great. They run great. There's no glitches. There's nothing that we're dealing with. What we're seeing this generation, where we're getting a lot of frame rate dips and glitches, and a lot of games are coming out busted. Nintendo doesn't seem to have an issue with that outside of the most recent Pokemon game.
Yeah.
So,
and then you have PlayStation that's right in the middle that like just pays like the appropriate amount of attention to their service, enough to make it like a great service that if you have a PlayStation, most likely you're going to subscribe to. So I just thought that was something very interesting that I started to unravel as we were talking about all this.
I think that for a long, especially through the 360 generation, and maybe a little bit at the beginning of the One and PS4.
Jordan says you guys have the wrong title for tonight's show. It should be, do we need Xbox? Yes, so we have something to crap on all night.
So I think that console sales through the 360 generation were very, like Nick said, camp focused, where it was you were going to get whatever your buddies had so you could play Call of Duty with them or Halo with them or whatever. And that trailed a little bit into the One, but then people started to dump the One for the PlayStation. And now in this generation, everybody's on PlayStation playing Call of Duty. So I think that the idea of buying Activision is like, well, if they're not going to buy our console, let's just buy the studio that makes the games that they're playing, and then maybe they'll switch over.
And guess what it all comes down to?
Yeah.
Why did everyone switch from Xbox to PlayStation, regardless of the Call of Duty thing? Oh, because Sony had some like nuclear bomb exclusives that like had to be played. And that fueled all the console purchases and the switching between camps. So that's the correlation. Jeff says PlayStation exclusives crush Xbox exclusives. Yes. We've made that point pretty clear.
And to be fair, to be fair on Xbox's side, there's really not any exclusives to crush over there. It's not that they're not that Sony is crushing them. They're just not there. And they're not there outside of Halo, Forza, and Gears.
I was gonna say it back in 360 days. Like they had some amazing exclusives.
So
but they don't make good Halo games, do they? Or
no,
Gears
not
games?
since Bungie. Not since Bungie stopped making Halo. So it's not. I want to drive home the point that it's not Sony that's crushing Xbox with their exclusives. It's Xbox that's crushing themselves by not putting out any exclusives to compete with. So I want to make that very clear. That's the problem. It's not Sony. Sony, yes, they're crushing their exclusives and their games are coming out, and we get new games every year. It seems like there's a banger PlayStation exclusive, but Xbox is not competing in any capacity. So they're the ones that are the problem. Yeah. Hope that makes you happy, Bio.
And it would be a sad day if we lost Xbox, regardless of Xbox's current state, because everyone's favorite term these days, capitalism is driven by competition, and if Sony has no competitors,
Oh, they got a competitor, and it's not Xbox.
who is it? Who's competing
Nintendo.
with stuff?
Nintendo. 100%.
I don't even think it's close. I don't even think it's
Oh.
close.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think that even Xbox was like, we can't even compete with Nintendo.
I know,
Didn't
and
you
that's
say
what I
Phil
thought
said
of as
something
like,
about-
no, he literally said that, and I thought that was like, I can't even
That's
think
sad.
of something so embarrassing to like compare that statement to.
I wouldn't have said that. I wouldn't have said that in the shadow of my own home to somebody that I knew wouldn't ever say anything about that comment.
Yeah.
For him to come out and say something like that is crazy.
I understand that Nintendo has the powerhouse of Zelda these days and the occasional Mario game,
I mean, there's more. There's
But-
a lot more than that, dude.
and-
Don't
and-
underestimate Nintendo.
but you take any gamer that's not like 10 or like 45 plus, that's just like into like Nintendo. Ask any other gamer that's not a huge Nintendo stan, they would pick PlayStation 9 times out of 10 if given the opportunity between those two.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do agree with you. PlayStation's definitely more adult oriented as far as their games go. So, but Nintendo, dude, I'm telling you, you're underestimating them.
They sell a
Yeah,
ton
you're
of sell a ton of Switches. So
And I went
something's going on there,
into. I'm not going to say the name. I went into a popular gaming store today to pre-order Tears of the Kingdom, and tried to convince myself that I didn't need an OLED to play Tears of the Kingdom on. And
You buy an OLED?
it damn near failed. Like, I played it for a little bit. I was like, damn, dude, this looks really good, man. Like, this looks way better than my Switch.
but
But
Hey,
the
you know
lady
what?
ahead of me bought the last Zelda OLED, which is the one that I was like eyeing. And I was like, well, I guess that makes my decision up for me.
Dang, dude, it must be nice to just walk into the store and be like, you know what? I think I might drop $400 right now.
Well, I didn't. So
Uh,
I'm sure you could walk in there and say that too, and then walk out and not spend any money.
that is true. Steve says, dude, I love you, Chad, but the Street Fighter uppercut you'd receive right now for saying Nintendo is even close to Sony.
But so I don't even, but okay, you don't even need the competition between the consoles, right? So like they can abandon that because you're still gonna have competition between studios to make better games and sell stuff. So
Yeah, you'll have that, but there will always be a major rivalry between Nintendo and PlayStation, and that we
Yeah.
talked about that
Going
on
back
one of our
that
episodes.
super weird gaming history
Yeah.
episode.
So they'll always be at each other's throats, and then that's why, like, even now that Nintendo and PlayStation are doing really well, Xbox just doesn't have a place in the story anymore, bro. I'm sorry.
Once again, North America just has dropped the
Dude, they
ball.
suck.
Like we can't do anything in this
Go to the-
industry.
You want to play games?
Can't make a console.
Get a
Can't have
Japanese
a
console.
good
Yeah.
tournament team. Like
I just saw the screenshot you posted in Discord when my
Well, where you're like
When
poking
my
yourself in the
internet
eye or whatever in the
what
nose.
the
And
heck was I doing? Oh
the
man.
first
think
one you
you're
were like
rolling your
coddling.
eyes.
You were like coddling your
Yes.
mic, like you're gonna make out with it, and then this
Yeah.
one you're poking your.
I mean, hey, the camera
nose.
cut out. Maybe I did. I don't know. You'll never know. Yeah. So I think this was a pretty fun conversation, and I feel bad. I feel bad for Xbox fans, one that are listening tonight or listen in the future, because
continues to shit on Xbox.
like it does suck. Like we really, I mean, I don't enjoy burning down, something, but they did it to themselves. They kind of deserve it.
it's just
but
bad
the-
to go like PS2 and then Xbox 360. Like there's just like good like pendulum swinging, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden like
It broke and it
stopped
just
swinging.
like flew over to Sony.
Yeah.
because
But-
the 360 was such a awesome
it was
follow
so
up
good,
Dude, it
dude.
was.
from on the competition side from the PS2, like just
Mhm.
swinging, and then like
Dude, a
360
huge
is probably
jump,
the
yeah.
I
second
switched-
best console.
I switched from PlayStation 2 to 360.
So
and
did
I waited
Yeah.
Everyone did.
outside of Best Buy like for 13 hours to get my 360. Went directly home and tried to play, but fell asleep like an hour later. And
They had
then
the exclusive IPs that were rocking.
yeah, dude. But the main reason I feel bad for Xbox fans is the way Xbox is treating you guys, because it's like you guys need and deserve some quality exclusive games, some high quality reasons to own an Xbox.
Damn.
I feel, yeah,
That was
Civ-
it was like the most backhanded comment.
Civ said, "I can't even watch you anymore." And then Joe said, "I feel like you
Bio,
lost the top tier
bio.
patron." Yeah, so
You
hey
just
guys,
have to
check out patreon.com/showboys podcast. We're gonna need a few more patrons after tonight's episode. So.
Bio, just go scour some top Xbox stuff like pages.
I'm gonna go
and podcasts and YouTube channels. Like
I'm gonna
we're
go
not the
give
only one
Bio
saying this.
my prime Twitch membership right now. I feel so bad.
Jordan says, "I'm gonna go boot up my Xbox. This conversation is driving me into its arms."
That's good.
Yeah. Hey,
Love
do it, man. Do it. Yeah. So I don't know. You guys have anything else you want to say about this topic, or you ready to close up shop before BioCiv shows up at all of our doors at this hour and delivers that Street Fighter uppercut?
I'm good. I got my point across, I think.
I think. What was your point?
My point was Xbox needs to make some new games. That's it. That
No.
was the only point I wanted to
Well,
drive home tonight, and I
to-
feel like I accomplished it.
Yeah. To sum up the last hour
Yeah.
in one sentence. There you go. Yeah. So make sure you guys subscribe because Nick is in ownership of a boxed, brand new, unopened Nintendo Switch OLED that we're trying to give away. We need to hit 1,000 subscribers here on YouTube before we give that away. So
I'm gonna make a
subscribe,
bunch of like
subscribe.
ghost accounts so I can subscribe and try and win it.
I know Joe has really got his eyes on it. So we need a few more subscribers before we can start that giveaway. So subscribe, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Showboys podcast. You can check out our entire backlog of content on showboysmedia.com or whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. Or if you're here on YouTube, we got all of our videos here too. Thank you, Jordan, Joe, Civ, for hanging out and chatting along. Don't forget, like we talked about earlier at the start of the episode, Nick and I will be on Funny Science Fiction podcast Monday, the 15th. So here in a few days, we're going to be talking about Star Wars with Tim and the crew over there at 7 p.m. Eastern. So go check that out. Go subscribe to them. I believe are they a featured channel on our YouTube page here? I want to say they are.
Yeah.
So you can go down to the bottom of our YouTube page, check out their YouTube channel there, or you can find them on Facebook and stuff. Make sure you join us Monday night 7. Otherwise, we'll see you Thursday. Have a good one, guys.
Peace out.
Oh no! Oh no!
Subscribe to the Showboys. Win a Switch.